that manages the soul's relationship to the divine, and the gnosis that eliminates the need for management by restoring the soul to direct recognition of what it already is. The language Jesus uses in the third fragment draws on a term from the Hellenistic mystical tradition that appears across multiple Nag Hammadi texts with remarkable consistency. The term is rendered in Coptic as a transliteration of the Greek pneuma, but used in the precise technical sense developed by the Valentinian school, not breath in the physiological sense, not spirit as an undefined elevation above matter, pneuma in the sense that Valentinus and his students used it, meaning the specific frequency of original, undivided light sealed into matter at the moment of creation and moving toward recognition of itself through the entire arc of human experience. The fragment states this with a directness that is almost startling after the elaborate cosmological scaffolding of the surrounding text. Sophia did not lose this frequency during her descent. She could not lose it, not because she was protected by external intervention, but because it was not a possession that could be separated from her. It was the nature of what she was at the deepest level of existence. The fall moved through her. The chaos surrounded every reactive structure available to the archons, and the pneuma witnessed all of it from a position that nothing in the region of chaos could reach, because it was the ground of perception itself rather than an object within perception, because this is what the Gnostic cosmology makes explicit that every subsequent tradition has worked to obscure. The archons do not fear power. Power they understand and can eventually corrupt. What they cannot navigate is recognition. The moment a soul stops reacting to its experience and turns instead to observe the thing that has been watching all along, the mechanism of interference loses its point of application. Nothing remains to attach to. The frequency activates, and what was always present becomes conscious of itself. That is the transmission, and it is why nothing that happened afterward could ever completely bury it. You have now traveled through one of the most deliberately suppressed dialogues in the entire history of Western spiritual thought. What began as a question about censored fragments in a Coptic manuscript ends here, in a place considerably closer to home than 4th century councils or Egyptian desert jars. It ends inside the architecture of your own consciousness, where, according to the tradition that preserved these words at great cost, the content of the transmission was never waiting to be delivered. It was waiting to be recognized. Sophia did not fall as a punishment. She moved as a function of light entering the region of density that only direct experience could transform. The chaos she descended into was not foreign territory. It carried the pattern that her own nature would dissolve through the pressure of its uncontainable luminosity. The authades could attach to every reactive layer of her experience, every fear, every contraction, every identity structure the soul constructs to survive in matter, but they could not reach the witness. The register at the center that does not react because it is the ground from which all reaction arises. When Jesus came to her in the moment of rescue, he did not restore something lost because nothing had been lost. He addressed the part of her that had watched the entire descent from a position the chaos could never touch, and in being directly addressed, that part became conscious of itself. This is the Gnostic map of the soul. Not allegory, not mythology to appreciate from a comfortable distance, a technical description of an architecture present in you with the same precision it was present in the figure the text calls Sophia, the forces operating on the surface of your daily experience, the manufactured urgency, the noise preventing interiority, the systems profiting from your identification with the reactive layers of the self. These are functional equivalents of the archons operating by exactly the principle the ancient text describes. They work because they target the structures that respond to pressure, to fear, to the endless oscillation between desire and aversion. Those structures are real and difficult to navigate, but they are not all that you are. The fragment says this directly. There is a register within you that has never been touched by any of it. Not because you have done sufficient spiritual work to protect it, because it is structural, because it is what you are at the level that precedes all experience. The pneuma, The original unbroken frequency sealed into matter when the light entered density is not something to develop or earn or recover. It is the thing that has been watching you try to recover it throughout the entire arc of your interior life. The dialogue between Jesus and Sophia was preserved by people who understood that a transmission of this nature does not require an unbroken institutional chain to survive. It requires only one thing: a soul in whom the witness is awake enough to recognize what it is reading. The Valentinians who encoded these fragments were not writing for a general audience. They were writing for the person who, at the moment of encounter, would feel not the intellectual satisfaction of learning something new, but the quieter, more serious tremor of remembering something never actually forgotten. If you felt that tremor at any point in this investigation, it was not a reaction to information. It was the witness recognizing itself in a mirror held at the correct angle. History attempted to prevent this arrival. The councils, the controlled translations, the centuries of deliberate obscurity surrounding the most significant passages in the Pistis Sophia, none of it succeeded in the way it needed to succeed. Because you are here, having stayed through the full length of this investigation, and something in you already knows that what was mapped across these 5 transmissions was not external history. It was your own interior architecture, described from the outside by people who had navigated it from within. This channel, omniscient, exists for exactly this kind of work, not spiritual content designed to produce a pleasant feeling of depth without disturbing anything real. The investigations continuing here go further into the Valentinian tradition, into transmission texts never designed for general readership, and into the precise connection between the Gnostic map of consciousness and the most serious contemporary frameworks for understanding subjective experience. Subscribe and stay close. What is being prepared next will take everything opened here and press it directly into the territory where the official record ends and the actual investigation begins. The dialogue Jesus whispered to Sophia was never addressed only to her. It was addressed to the witness in every soul eventually ready to receive it. The fact that you are still here suggests something significant about where you are in that process. What we've discussed today, the suppression of Sophia's gnosis, is only the theoretical map. But as I always say, information without initiation is just more noise in the simulation. To truly disconnect, you need the functional codes that the ancient Gnostics used to protect their souls. Because these specific practices are often suppressed on public platforms, I've created a private space for those of you who are ready to go deeper. It's called Sophia's Unveiled Gnosis. Inside, you'll find the Sacred Rose Codex, the digital manual with the exact symbol diagrams and meditation maps we've talked about, along with the 5-pillar masterclass series. If you feel the call to move from searching to finding, you can secure your lifetime access by clicking the link in the description or the first pinned comment. I've opened a limited number of spots at a special founder's rate for this week. If you're ready to exit the loop, I'll see you inside. Now let's return to our final contemplation.